So that's the hill sprints done, and they are a great way of developing strength and power in the legs and building that anaerobic capacity, with particular emphasis of using these in the base phase of a training plan. So if you were looking to introduce these into your own training plan, it'd be something you probably do in the base phase, so that would be further away from the race rather than be getting too specific with the race training itself. Now, the key points to remember with these sort of intervals are that they are very short, flat out efforts. So first off, you have to have a very good warm-up, and that will include a number of drills as well as some accelerations to make sure your legs are properly warmed up before you start any of the actual hill sprints themselves. A second key point to remember in these is the fact that they are short efforts, so don't get tempted to increase the duration of these efforts, because what we're looking to utilize is fast twitch muscle fibers, and ultimately if you start extending those you won't be getting the true benefits. So you can increase the number of repetitions that you do, the number of sets, but try to keep the actual duration of these hill sprints between around 8 to 10 seconds maximum. You don't want to be going above that duration. With these hill reps, you want to do in the region of 6 to 8, and then in terms of reps, if you're going to then increase it, you have a 2-minute rest. Say you do 6 reps, 2-minute rest after each one, and then have a 3-minute rest if you're then going to do a second set of 6. But I would say maximum of 8 per set, and then extend the rest period from 2 minutes to 3 minutes in between those sets before you go into a second set. Ultimately, these are designed for getting that maximum peak power out of your legs. Now, I occasionally train with running to power as well, so I will use something like a stride power meter when doing these, and over time what I'd hope to see is the max power produced increasing as I develop that strength within my legs and that explosive power that these drills intervals are so great at developing. In terms of actually setting yourself up to do these, as I mentioned, you want a really long warm-up, so I would typically do upwards of 15 to 20 minutes of running and then go into drills such as high knees, skipping, as I also mentioned earlier, some acceleration. So there will be a prolonged warm-up period with dynamic stretches before I do anything in terms of higher intensity with these, because the chance of injury is high. The actual setup itself would be on a hill of between 30 and 50% gradient if you have one available, although you can make use of steep stairs as well. And that would be one where I'm able to run and get reasonable traction. So in the video here you can see it's a bit loose, but overall my feet aren't slipping backwards when I'm pushing and driving hard up the hill, and that gradient there is in excess of 30%, although I appreciate sometimes when you film it kind of flattens the gradient. With this workout, if it's not one that you've done before, in the first few weeks it will be more neurological and developing the neuromuscular pathways as your body learns to sprint essentially. So you may not actually feel that you're getting out of breath in the first few sessions that you do. I wouldn't do more than 1 a week as well as a guideline, so I would include at most 1 a week, because although it may not feel that you're getting tired in the first few weeks, they are hard on the body. But ultimately over time you'll find that as you develop those neuromuscular connections and you get more used to sprinting, then your body will actually start utilizing more fast twitch muscle fibers as you become more developed in this particular sort of event. These are fantastic for mountain marathons, and they are a great base phase before developing more specific training, a specific hill training as well, and I'll talk about those shortly. So overall, if you're looking to include a high intensity effort and you've got a mountain marathon or a shorter sort of trail race coming up that involves a lot of climbing, I would highly recommend introducing these into your training plan. Once you become a bit more competent at doing these sort of hill sprints and you're looking to develop to the next phase, then there's a number of different approaches you can take. Depending on the sort of race you're doing, you want to get more specific to that race. So if you're doing something like the Lavaredo Ultra Trail, they have a number of very long climbs, so you'd want to do more hill climbs specific to that, and it's ultimately about trying to replicate the climbs on the course. With those hill climb simulations, those are likely to be closer to race pace intensity, so working more aerobic endurance, for example. And then you have this middle ground where you can be doing intervals which will be working at around lactate threshold or slightly higher than that, but they will be short in duration, and this would be more appropriate as well if you're doing shorter races with shorter hills, where you'll be able to actually attack them a little bit more than in, say, the longer mountain ultramarathons such as Lavaredo or UTMB. Now with those, there's a number of different options you can do, but ultimately you want to be trying to push yourself and do a number of repetitions where you're gaining a significant amount of climbing on hills of around 25 to 30% gradient, and actually driving up those at a speed faster than you may want to do on race day, but to build up that strength in the legs, because as you start going uphill, leg strength becomes more and more important as you want to improve that power. So ultimately, you can use those hill sprints in the initial phase, then maybe a middle phase where you'll be doing in the terms of sort of longer but still higher intensity training, but not as high as the neuromuscular efforts you were doing in the sort of 8 to 10 second hill sprints. And then if you get into the specific phase and you're doing, say, a mountain and ultra like UTMB, that's when you can then really start focusing on those long hill climb simulations, working at a lower intensity, but they might be for longer climbs where you're gaining, say, 1200 meters of ascent. As a guide, in your middle phase there, you might be gaining anywhere around 500 meters of ascent, say, so they are a reasonable amount of times, and you might actually do reps of that as well if you have time to fit that into your schedule.
That's me done. 2 times 8 today. See, with the heart rate, there's a massive lag. It feels worse once you've finished. I think it's because you're working your lactic energy system for the most part, and then when you get up there, but not getting up to lactate threshold or anything like that in these intervals because they're so short and sharp.
I hope you found this video useful. If you have, please give it a like and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Do you include specific hill work in your training? I'd love to hear about it. Please leave a comment down below. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to my weekly newsletter, check out the website. There's a link down below in the description, and there's a sign up form there. I'll see you next time.